Hi, I'm Kristen Amdahl. On today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this super simple crochet wire bracelet using a variation on Tunisian simple stitch, which is called Tunisian double crochet, where you're going to need 28 gauge wire in gold, silver, black, or whatever color you choose, a C2 crochet hook, which is also 2.75 millimeters. You're going to need a magnetic bar clasp. This one has 3 prongs on it. And you're going to also need a size 14 steel crochet hook, and we're going to actually join the clasp to the bracelet with crochet using the smaller hook, no seaming required. So let's get started. Okay, so we're starting with our 28 gauge wire and our C2 or 2.25 millimeter crochet hook, and I tie a loose knot onto my hook. Now if you already know how to do Tunisian crochet, this will not be very difficult to do. You already know the stitches that I'm going to show you, and we're going to start with a chain stitch, which is very basic simple crochet. The only difference is that when we're working with wire, we have to work our yarn or our wire a little bit tougher than we would with regular soft yarn. And so in order to keep our stitches even, you want to just keep sliding your hook in and out of the loops to keep them uniform. Otherwise, because we're pushing so hard, we may end up tightening our stitches by mistake. So I've got 3, 4, we're going to do this 15 times. So you want to get 15 on there, and see how exaggerated I'm pulling my stitch. I just want to make sure that those loops stay nice and even. See how even my chains are? It's because I'm really exaggerating the movement to keep them nice and loose looking, even though I'm pulling much harder than I normally would with yarn, because the wire is a little stiffer, well, quite a bit stiffer than yarn would be. So go ahead and get 15 of these, and then I'll show you how to do the first row of Tunisian double crochet. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now I've got 16 on here, so what I'm going to do is show you how you can unravel this. It's a little harder to do than yarn, but there we go. You just want to kind of work backwards against it, and if you have to do too many of them, it will be miserable. So don't bother. If you're going to have to do too many unravelings, you're better off just cutting and starting over. Okay, so we're going to double crochet into the 3rd chain from our hook. You don't count the loop that's on your hook. That's not a stitch, that's your working loop. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and yarn over your hook. Insert your hook into that next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Okay, and then we'll do that into the next chain. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so we're doing the first half of each stitch across the row. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now as you're going, what I like to do is pull down on the work to keep the stitches nice and even. So I'm pulling down on that base chain like this. So what you want to do is repeat this across the row. We'll repeat it one more time here. Yarn over your hook, insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, what I want you to do is complete that across the entire row, and when you get to that point, I'll show you how to do the return. Okay, so now we have all of our stitches picked up, and now for Tunisian crochet, this is not unique to the wire, but unique to Tunisian crochet. To do your return back to get the stitches off the hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through 1 loop for the first stitch, and then for the remainder of the row, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, like that. Yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so you want to complete that across the entire row, and then when you get all the stitches off the hook, I'll show you how to do the next row of Tunisian double crochet, and that will be the row that we repeat for the rest of the project. Okay, our first row is complete, so now to start the second row, we're going to do a chain 2 to create the height that we need for our double crochet Tunisian stitches, and that counts as our first stitch. So we're going to skip the first vertical bar there, and you're going to be working into the elongated vertical bars across the row. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the front of the next vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, not yarn over, wire over. Wire over the hook, insert your hook into the next elongated vertical stitch, wire over the hook, pull up a loop, wire over the hook, and pull through 2. Do that one more time. Wire over the hook, insert your hook into the next vertical elongated stitch, wire over the hook, pull up a loop, wire over the hook, and pull through 2. You want to complete that across the entire row, and that'll show you how to do the return. And again, like we did on the first row, I'm going to pull on the body of the work from the bottom just to try to stretch this out a little bit as I go. It keeps the stitches looking even. So go ahead and work that across, and I'll show you how to. Okay, we've got all our stitches back onto our hook, and now same as the return of the first row, which will be the return of every row going forward now, we're going to wire over our hook and pull through 1 loop for the first stitch, and then wire over the hook and pull through 2 loops for every stitch remaining. So wire over the hook, pull through 2, wire over the hook, pull through 2, and repeat that across the entire, it doesn't matter if you pull your stitches out because with the wire it stays in place. Isn't that cool? So we're going to do that across the entire row. Then when we complete that, we're going to repeat this particular row for the length of our bracelet, and at that point I'll show you how to finish it off, join our clasp, and harden our work. So that'll be in the next set. Alright, once we have all of our rows complete for the length of the bracelet, we're going to turn our work, do a chain 1, and then slip stitch across the top of this row. Now while we're slip stitching across the top of this row, we're also going to simultaneously join the bar clasp with these 3 holes to the center 3 slip stitches across the top of this row. So we have 13 stitches to do, 3 holes. What we're going to do is slip stitch in each of the first 5, slip stitch into each of the next 3 while simultaneously slip stitching into one of these holes and the stitch at the same time, then slip stitching across the next 5. So let's do that now. Alright, so we're going to slip stitch into each of the first 5 in that vertical bar. There's 2. Oops, just grab one at a time. Okay, so now we're going to switch to our smaller hook. We're going to insert our hook into the very next bar stitch and into the next, or the first hole on the magnetic clasp. We're going to yarn over and pull through both all the way through. Okay, then we'll pick up our next stitch in our next hole, yarn over and pull through both of them. We'll do that one more time. Insert our hook into the next stitch, the next hole, yarn over, pull through all loops on the hook, and then we'll switch back over to our regular hook and slip stitch in the remaining 5 stitches across this row. So when you finish that, we'll come to the corner, and normally when we do a perimeter border we do extra stitches in the corners. This time we're not going to do that because we're just trying to firm up our stitching to make the bracelet a little more rigid. And so what I'm going to do is when I get to the end of this row, I'm just going to simply turn, and for each row of the double crochet, I'm going to slip stitch into 2 spaces evenly into each row across that entire length. And then when you get to the end here, turn without working extra stitches in the corner, and then repeat what we just did for the other side of the bar clasp. So go ahead and work 2 slip stitches into the side of each of these double crochet rows across, and then I'll show you how to join the other side of the clasp. Okay, so I've worked my slip stitches across that whole length, and I've started by doing the first 5 slip stitches in the beginning of this row. Now what I want to do is fold the bracelet in half and work into the other side of the prongs of the bar clasp in the right order. Now, just a quick tip, if you're going to take this apart and do it, make sure that you line it up properly, because what I've done in the past is assume that both heads go on the same side, and if you do that, it's going to make the bracelet twist. You want to make sure that these go in opposite directions, so if you need to test it, keep it closed at first, and if it's not too uncomfortable, just keep it closed, because that way you can't make the mistake and get it done in the right direction. So what I'm going to do is take my regular size hook out and now switch to my tinier hook, insert my hook into the next stitch and the first prong on the bar clasp, and you're going to slip stitch through both of those at the same time. We'll do that into the next stitch and the next bar clasp prong and pull through both. And we'll do that into the third one like that. And then we'll switch back to a regular size crochet hook, slip stitch across the remainder of this row, and what you can do now is slide those apart so that it's empty, or so that they're slipped apart and your bracelet's flat again. And what we'll do is slip stitch across here, slip stitch 2 stitches into the side edge of every row across, slip stitch to join in the first corner, then cut our wire and weave in the loose ends, and then I'll show you how to work harden your bracelet. Okay, so our bracelet is almost done. I have the slip stitch done around all rows of the Tunisian double crochet. I have the clasp joined with crochet, not with seaming. Now a few things left to do. We have these tails we need to weave in. Now you could weave them in with a blunt nosed needle or a tapestry needle like you would with yarn, but it's really not necessary. You can just weave it in and out of the work just by pointing it and weaving it in and out, and you just want to go close to where you did your last weaving in and out, and just do it, and as you push it through, put it all the way through, pull hard, and then kind of give it a little pinch so it kind of bends into place. And the more kinks and bends in the wire, the more likely it is going to really just stay in place. And then once we work harden, it'll really secure it even more. So I'm going to do this about 6 or 8 times, which is probably 1 inch or 2 inches of wire that's done in the weaving. And then after you do that, you're just going to snip it. You could use scissors, you could use the flat point in your needle nose pliers, anything like that will work. And you want to do that to both sides of the bracelet, from the beginning tail and the end tail, and then I'll show you how to work harden. Okay, so our bracelet is almost done. I have the slip stitch done around all rows of the Tunisian double crochet. I have the clasp joined with crochet, not with seaming. Now a few things left to do. We have these tails we need to weave in. Now you could weave them in with a blunt nosed needle or a tapestry needle like you would with yarn, but it's really okay. We're in the home stretch now, and I just wanted to show you side by side one of the Tunisian double crochet bracelets that I've already completed and I've already work hardened. And what I mean by work hardening is that I've taken a hammer and I've taken a dishcloth or a washcloth, and I've banged on the bracelet to flatten it out. If you notice, the stitches are kind of bulky, especially in crochet versus knitting, and in order to flatten it out and make it a really smooth metallic feel for a bracelet, you need to flatten it. And I'm using a hammer. This happens to be a really old hammer. I got handed down to me by my grandfather years ago, and I just use it because it's special to me because it was his. But you can use any old hammer you want, or an anvil or something hard and flat. And what you want to do is put the bracelet on the washcloth or something softer. I learned the hard way doing this. If you just bang on it really hard on a hard surface, you will end up breaking the wire. And so you can tap on it a little bit flat without putting anything on the front side. But after you do this a little bit, you're going to want to actually put the cloth on both sides of